When you're younger, staying home feels like missing out. It feels like life is happening somewhere else, and you're stuck watching from a distance. Movement is praised. Noise is celebrated. Being busy is treated like success. But something changes as you grow older, especially after 60. You begin to notice that the things you once chased no longer give you the same satisfaction. Crowds feel heavier. Noise feels louder. Rushing feels pointless. And slowly, quietly, a different truth starts to reveal itself. Staying home is no longer about hiding from life. It becomes about returning to it. After 60, life stops asking you to prove yourself. It stops demanding constant motion. It stops rewarding chaos. Instead, it offers something far more valuable: clarity. And clarity often lives at home. Home is not just a place. It's a rhythm. Apache. A sense of control. It's where time finally slows down enough for you to hear your own thoughts again. For decades, you lived according to schedules, expectations, responsibilities, and noise that rarely paused. You showed up for everyone. You adapted. You endured. You performed. And now, life quietly gives you permission to rest without guilt. Staying home after 60 is not withdrawal. It is wisdom choosing peace. When you stay home, you regain ownership of your energy. You no longer spend it on conversations that drain you or obligations that no longer align with who you are. You wake up when your body tells you to. You eat when you're hungry, not when the clock demands it. You move at a pace that feels natural instead of rushed. This freedom is subtle but powerful. Your nervous system begins to heal. For years, stress lived in your body without permission. Deadlines, traffic, noise, pressure, expectations. Staying home reduces that constant background tension. Your heart rate slows. Your breathing deepens. Your sleep improves. Not because life became easier, but because it became quieter. And quiet is not emptiness. Quiet is space. In that space, you begin to remember who you are without the roles, without the job title, without the constant need to respond. You reconnect with small pleasures that once felt insignificant but now feel rich. Morning light through a window, the sound of a kettle boiling, a familiar chair that fits your body perfectly. These moments don't shout for attention. They whisper, and after 60, whispers matter more than noise. Staying home also protects your health in ways that medicine cannot. Less exposure to stress, illness, and exhaustion strengthens the immune system. Your body recovers faster when it isn't constantly pushed. Your mind stays sharper when it isn't overloaded. This isn't about fear of the outside world. It's about respecting the limits of the body that carried you this far. You don't owe your later years to constant activity. You owe them to care. Home allows routines that support longevity. Gentle movement, regular rest, time for reflection. These are not luxuries. They are foundations of well-being after 60, and they are far easier to maintain when your environment is familiar and controlled. There is also emotional safety in staying home. At this stage of life, you've seen enough to know that not every space deserves your presence. You've outgrown drama. You've outgrown unnecessary conflict. You've outgrown proving your point. Home becomes a refuge from emotional noise. Inside your home, you don't have to perform. You can simply be. You don't have to explain your choices. You don't have to compete. You don't have to pretend to enjoy what no longer brings joy. That authenticity is deeply healing. Many people underestimate how exhausting pretending can be over decades. Staying home removes that burden. Another truth becomes clear after 60. Relationships change. Some people drift away. Others pass on. Social circles shrink not because life is empty, but because it becomes more selective. Staying home allows you to invest in fewer, deeper connections instead of many shallow ones. A meaningful phone call, a quiet visit, a shared meal. These moments carry more weight than crowded gatherings ever did. Home also becomes a place of memory. Every object carries a story, a photograph, a book, a chair. These are reminders of a life fully lived. Staying home gives you time to honor those memories without rushing past them. Reflection becomes natural. and reflection brings peace. There is also creativity in staying home. After 60, creativity doesn't disappear. Changes form. Writing, gardening, cooking, reading, building, repairing, learning. These activities thrive in the calm environment of home. Creativity no longer needs applause. It becomes personal and fulfilling. Many people fear staying home because they associate it with loneliness. But loneliness is not about location. It's about disconnection. And staying home can actually reduce loneliness when it's chosen intentionally. When you stay home by choice, you fill your time with meaning. You create structure. You listen to yourself. You reconnect with what matters. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. After 60, that distinction becomes clear. Staying home also protects your dignity. You are no longer forced into spaces that don't accommodate your comfort or pace. You don't have to endure environments that exhaust you physically or emotionally. You choose where you spend your strength. And strength becomes precious. There is also a deeper lesson in staying home. Acceptance. You stop fighting time. You stop competing with youth. You stop measuring yourself against outdated standards. You begin to honor where you are instead of mourning where you're not. This acceptance is not surrender. It is peace. Home becomes a place where aging is not resisted, but respected. Where rest is not laziness, but wisdom. Where slowing down is not weakness, but alignment with reality. Staying home also allows you to pass down wisdom. Conversations become slower, deeper, more intentional. You share stories without rushing. You teach without preaching. Younger generations learn not from your activity, but from your presence. And presence is powerful. There is no rule that says life must shrink after 60. It simply changes shape. Staying home doesn't reduce life. It refines it. It removes what is unnecessary and reveals what is essential. After decades of movement, staying home is not stopping. It is arriving. Arriving at a life where peace matters more than pressure, where health matters more than hustle, where meaning matters more than motion. And perhaps the most important truth is this: staying home after 60 is not about the walls around you. It's about the freedom within you, the freedom to choose rest, to choose quiet, to choose yourself. You've earned that freedom. Life does not end when you slow down. It deepens. And staying home gives you the space to feel that depth fully, honestly, and peacefully. That is why staying home after 60 isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. There is also a quiet confidence that comes with staying home after 60. You no longer need constant reassurance from the outside world to feel valid. You've lived long enough to know who you are, what you value, and what you no longer tolerate. Home becomes a reflection of that certainty. It holds your preferences, your pace, your boundaries. Nothing there asks you to be someone else. That confidence changes how you experience time. Minutes feel fuller. Days feel less rushed. You stop measuring life by how much you did and start measuring it by how present you were. Staying home allows moments to breathe. Conversations are not rushed. Thoughts are not interrupted. Silence becomes comfortable instead of awkward. And silence at this stage of life is a gift. Staying home also helps you listen to your body in ways you couldn't before. After 60, your body speaks more clearly. Tells you when it's tired, when it needs rest, when it needs movement, when it needs care. Being at home makes it easier to respond to those signals instead of ignoring them to meet external demands. This attentiveness builds a deeper relationship with yourself. You begin to trust your body again. Home gives you the space to grieve gently as well. Loss becomes part of life as years pass. People you loved deeply may no longer be present. Staying home gives you room to remember them without pressure to move on quickly. Memories surface naturally. Emotions are allowed. Healing happens quietly without performance. There is also a sense of safety that grows stronger after 60. Not fear-based safety, but emotional safety. At home, you know where everything is. You know what to expect. Predictability becomes comforting rather than boring. It allows your mind to rest instead of constantly scanning for what's next. That rest sharpens wisdom. From that place of calm, you often gain new insight into your past. You see patterns you couldn't see before. You understand decisions with more compassion. You forgive yourself more easily. Staying home creates the stillness needed for perspective, and perspective is one of life's greatest teachers. You may also notice that joy changes shape. It becomes quieter but deeper. A good meal, a familiar song, a warm afternoon light. These moments don't demand attention, yet they stay with you longer. Staying home allows you to recognize and appreciate these subtleties. Home also becomes a place of contribution. You may not be moving as fast, but what you offer carries weight. Advice given thoughtfully, presence offered patiently, wisdom shared without urgency. Younger people feel it when they sit with you. They feel the steadiness, the calm, the lived experience. You don't need to chase relevance. You embody it. Staying home also removes unnecessary comparison. When you step back from constant social exposure, you stop measuring your life against others. You stop asking whether you're doing enough. You stop absorbing pressure that was never meant for you at this stage. Peace returns when comparison leaves. Another quiet benefit of staying home is control over your environment. You choose what enters your space. The sounds, the conversations, the energy. That control protects your mental health in ways that are often underestimated. You are no longer at the mercy of constant stimulation. And with fewer distractions, gratitude becomes clearer. You notice how much you've survived, how much you've learned, how resilient you've been. Staying home gives you time to appreciate the journey without rushing to the next chapter. Perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this: life doesn't ask you to keep proving yourself forever. After 60, it asks you to live honestly, to rest when needed, to enjoy what remains, to care for yourself with the same dedication you once gave to others. Staying home is not the end of your story. It is the chapter where everything finally makes sense. It is where you stop running and start understanding, where you stop chasing and start appreciating, where you stop performing and start living. And in that quiet, familiar space, you realize something powerful. You were never meant to be everywhere.